Hey ho, hello. It's me, Steiner, and with me today is Randallsar, which we've had some time of before. This time he's
Yep,
here as a chicken. He
yep,
has
we're
become the
back.
chicken. um, to our little, podcasting situation here, which has no name or anything, no branding. We are going full anarchy style, I guess.
Yeah, we
Um,
just we just have to let the people know.
Yeah.
Any
our
means
opinions are
necessary.
important. Uh,
Yep.
but yeah. With this one, we are talking about essentially. So we have talked about replaying Monster Hunter World. Well, last time we talked more about like kind of the controversy, the heated the more extreme parts of the community being like, like hating on Rise and being like, whoa, world's so
Yeah,
good.
because as people
Um,
were coming back to World,
mhm.
everyone had to contrast that with, and we want to play World because this is what Rise did wrong. And then we got some really
Hmm.
spicy and wrong opinions um, about what Rise compared to World. But
Sure.
since then, we've just been trying to play the game.
Yeah,
Um,
and to give it a little bit more context, it wasn't just replay
yeah,
the game, but also we used the mod pack Ice, so Iceborne Community Edition, which is a lovely little mod. Well, not just a mod, but like a real big package of all kinds of different things that will like improve some quality of life, makes you able to skip cutscenes, adjusts weapon damage values so more of their movesets become viable, or like just even add full-on moves or tools
yeah,
to the stuff to make to kind of like equalize the move set and not just have like very dominant play strategies in a sense. If not like
yeah.
change the dynamic of a weapon a little bit at least.
Like for an easy example, the great sword in the base game is all about hitting your final hit, like the ultimate
Yeah.
slam hit. And in this game, they tried to bring up damage values and add some mechanics so that your combos or your non-charged swings would also do some damage, so you weren't just pigeonholed into one style of play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another massive change from like the base game was that they removed clutch claw, not removed clutch claw, but the
Clagger.
clagger effect, yeah,
Mm.
where the monster would like sort of do a little pose for you and stagger backwards in order for you to like target the piece of the monster you want to clutch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it would just mess up with some of the pacing of the fight. So that's been removed, and the clutch claw in itself, I think, got nerfed. So that,
I got buffed
or
actually. Oh, it depends on the weapon because what they did is they they standardized what the clutch claw is doing because it had different properties depending on like the type of weapon. Like the heavier types
okay,
had like specific things they could do, and lighter types had specific things they could do. But they kind of like mashed all those things into one, and they also doubled the time something is being weakened from doing the clutch
yeah,
claw.
yeah, they just wanted you. I think that like the idea was just to have the clutch claw not be a consistent part of the combat, so you're not just over and over again having to reapply it, having to like stop the flow of combat in order to clutch again.
Yeah.
So that was like a major. I think one of the major changes of the mod, or one of the things that you notice the most.
Yeah, for sure. Um and yeah, so we since last time we just about finished low rank, I think. When we
Yeah,
started talking about it, or
yeah,
we
we were coming to the end of low rank. We were in
mm,
like fighting Teostra, so we were
mm,
like the final few monsters, basically.
Oh no, that's high rank. Tiara still
Yeah,
is
high rank. I mean, we were just finishing off like base world and going into the expansion.
Yeah, and and that since then we've mostly beaten the game, and as in master rank or Chi rank, whatever you want to call it. And we have, how should I say, like we have now some reinforced opinions. And yeah, like how would you describe, would it, did your experience with master rank change anything of your, like, how to say, like your preconceptions of, well, rather like your established opinions of world, or did it stay the same? Well,
I remembered very little about Iceborne because I played it once when it came out and then I never touched it again. And like my brain just seemed to completely like memory wipe the entire expansion, like, so I didn't have much like preconceived notions on how the expansion was. I think that my main feeling that I had the first time I was playing it was I was kind of just like desperately hoping that Monster Hunter would get back to something closer to what it used to be in terms of like challenge, in terms of the difficulty, because base world had the mantles, it had like moving while you're healing, it added so many like accommodations to the player, and if you had been playing Monster Hunter for many years before that, to get a game that's more catered to new people coming in, or is just in general easier than the previous games, like, I was just really worried that like the challenge was taken out of the series altogether and that we wouldn't get back to that again, and bring in like and having an emphasis on the storyline in comparison to the gameplay, and just like so for me Iceborne was like the major indication at the time of like where the series is gonna go. So every inch they made towards playing like the older games, I was like more, like basically just like clinging on to like any sign that it was gonna go back. Like,
sure.
Like,
I guess to kind of give it even more context, so it's not just that you touched World recently, you also played Generations X, or Generations U rather. You also, what is it? Was it 4? Did you also touch 4 a little bit, or was it?
No, I haven't played 4 because I don't want to go back to the 3DS.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Okay, but you like it like you have some, like, even though Generation Ultimate released after World, but before Iceborne, I think. But it still was obviously the old style in some ways.
Yeah, but it was also just like an updated older game. So before Rise came out, or like started to get more videos and stuff, we had no idea where this series would go after World.
Yeah.
Like GU came out because they already had Generations.
Yep.
So like that's just like, we knew an Ultimate was gonna come out, like, but we didn't know whether that was gonna be like the last like true Monster Hunter game, or for me like the last one that I would really enjoy.
Sure.
So
sure.
I was just really nervous playing Iceborne the first time, and I remember a lot of conversation about like, oh yeah, well, this is pretty hard, this is like hard like the old games, or like with the investigations, like, oh, it's not too bad, like there's less cutscenes in Iceborne, and there's less investigation parts where you just have to like run around collecting tracks. Like it's getting more like the classic games, and I'm not sure like I feel like we were giving the game a lot of leeway because we were so, so desperate for it to be like difficult and like for all of this stuff to go away. Like in terms.
Yeah, to some degree, yeah, for sure. Like, well, I wouldn't say like desperate, but like for me, it was all like them jumping over into World. It was very clear that they actually had to remake all the things because they couldn't lean on like previous Monster Hunters. They couldn't lean on all like literally hundreds of already made monsters and all the animation sets and physics and all the mechanics kind of it was mostly just built on top of each other, even though like there was I think a small engine change between games, if I remember right. Like, even the interesting thing is that well, actually it's not even that. Like, I think Generations runs on the same engine as World, but obviously heavily really? They're quite different. Yeah, I think they're both in on what's it called? Essentially the engine they've been using since like 2008, ME framework. Wow. I think it's called. But yeah, only Rise actually has been running on RE engine so far. So yeah, Wilds is gonna be the first in quote main series, whatever that should mean, or mainline Monster Hunter that is actually gonna run on the RE engine. Which, just to point out for anybody who doesn't know, RE engine doesn't mean Resident Evil engine, even though it's Capcom. It means Reach for the Moon engine.
I'm going to be honest, I thought it was Resident Evil engine.
Yeah, no, I also thought that for a long time, but no, it's Reach for the Moon.
Reach for the Moon engine?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't imagine like the confusion.
Yeah. But yeah, like, so Wilds is actually what World was still on the old MT framework. That's the name, MT framework.
Yeah.
And so yeah, in that sense, it's also interesting. But like, there's a bunch of other details about that. But the focus currently should be more just the experience with Ice and Iceborne. And and like I said, like so I was, when World came out, I was like, oh yeah, they literally had to remake the entire thing, all new assets, all new effects, all new animations. Well, not all new, but like probably like they couldn't harvest it as like 1-to-1 as in previous games.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was always like, yeah. It's you can feel, how, like if you're used to the previous games, like especially like 4 for you.
Yeah, because I started playing the games in free Ultimate. So for me, my first game was an Ultimate game. Like I had the whole base roster and I had like the Ultimate editions. So I was used to that level of like, content, just straight like monster count basically, like
yeah.
And then 4U is like even bigger, and then you play Generations and it's even bigger because it's like
Generations is ridiculous.
Like, yeah, so like coming into World, like I understood why there isn't as much content because of the amount of work they have to do in order to
build that up again.
Yeah, to build that up. But so like I am like understanding of that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, like I was just more saying, like for me, like even though I understood it as well, it still slightly, was like, like it just felt like, there wasn't like, I said, in the end, I didn't hate it or anything. That's not the point I'm really trying to make. It was more just like, it was just a little bit disappointing, even though like it made absolute sense and it would be unreasonable to be like, how dare they not have more monsters, right?
Like I think that was something that we've been saying since World came out, is like when World 2 comes out, that's gonna be like, that's gonna be good because that's gonna have like all of the monsters from World, and then like the additions as well, and then we'll get closer to, you know, like a monster count or a content amount that we're used to.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, Rise was already getting close. Like, Rise wasn't, like, it was already more, but obviously wasn't that much more. But then, like, but then with Sunbreak, I think they, like, really knocked it out of the park. Like, just...
Yeah, Sunbreak.
Amazing picks. Like, amazing monster picks. So many, you know, also just improvements to stuff. It's, like, so good in that regard. But yeah, like, that was, like, base world experience, and then, you know, but you know, there were obviously a bunch of aspects that, you know, I liked, where it was like, you know, all weapons got more moves. Every single weapon got more moves. They got more tools to do and stuff. So that was nice. Obviously, like, there's like a bit of other meta stuff that has been disruptive since World's release, and is still, even with Ice, still fairly disruptive. Like the entire crit build meta, because elemental weapons are so bad in comparison. And also, like, you know, just general, like, stuff becoming useless, and even though it's still in the game. Like, I've complained about this many times. It's like how they keep making dung bombs more and more useless. Like, it had literally what's it called? Not Frostfang. Frostfang is the Barioth. It's well, the frozen Legiana. That's the only monster where you really need a dung bomb, right? Or it helps a lot if you have a dung bomb, so that the other Legiana that keeps teaming up with it goes away. But like, it wasn't
like I don't remember specifically, but I remember in the base game before downloading Ice that just other large monsters and also like just the local wildlife was just way less aggressive in comparison to you know, with the Ice mod on. So like it, like when you have these monsters, like you come into a hunt now, what other monsters are in the local area actually mean something. Like I've had, like, while I was grinding some of my materials in Iceborne, like some of those Elder Recess quests, like Brachydios and stuff, like I was just constantly getting like mobbed by a Tigrex or a Lavasioth. Or Lavasioth would like poke his head out of the lava and snipe me, and I wouldn't even know he was there. Like,
he loves to do that.
Like, there's just a lot of like really goofy, memorable moments from the interactions between the monsters, and yeah, it's like you say, like there's like it's just becoming like less and less of a thing. Like in Rise, it's like even worse because like you get the mount, the monsters hit each other, like you just automatically get a mount. Yeah. And then, like, depending on if you're on the monster you're hunting or the monster or like the other monster, like changes like which buttons you press while you're mount. But the result is you get a knockdown and the monster runs away. Like, there's just no downside to having another monster show up in an area. You're just like, oh, a free knockdown's coming. Like, it's now what monster it is.
Pretty
like,
much. Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, obviously it wasn't as bad in World in that regard. Like, I think that's one of the bigger mistakes of Rise. Not like I personally I like the mounting more in Rise. I just dislike the values around it, in that, you know, because it's free. It's just free because the monsters will home in on each other. They will punch each other. Will give you instantly a mount. Will give you the mount attacks. Will give you the knockdowns. And because you also can, you know, do the slapping monsters into each other to get the other to be mountable, you can just double up on damage. And, you know, it's kind of wacky. And it really, how should I say, like, because these are universal options, it kind of, how should I say, like, I don't know, like, what the obviously Monster Hunter team's, you know, mindset is for this, but like, at least in older games, it seemed that like if you want to have options in a fight, that means you have to make an investment. If you want to have, if you want to offset a monster screaming or quaking, right? Invest in armor skills to offset these things. If you want the monster to,
you need the sonic bomb. So
if you want to, have them slow down, you use traps to have them, stationary for a bit. And you would also like, I don't know, like if it's. I think it still kind of does it, where if a monster is tired, it sticks longer in traps. And I know there is monsters that I think like Rajang, obviously will just use a shock trap to power himself up if you use it on him. I think that's still in all the games, but like. I'm just saying, like, these were older. Also, in all the games, that was like there was always an investment, and it wasn't even like you could get clear benefits off of it, but depending on the monsters, it would vary, right? Like, sonic bombs don't work on many monsters, or like only work on like monsters that dig. So there's no point to bring sonic bombs over to monsters that do all these other things, and so, like, you were, I don't know, like I said, there was always, like, a preparation angle and a cost angle to these things. And
when you combine that as well with the fact that you have limited inventory slots and you can't go back and get more of this stuff, it's just, like, there's been a lot of fights in Iceborne where... Like, I've had my health lowered from getting carted or something. I just go in the box and get, like, a max potion out. Like, it's just, it's nothing. Like,
I think we were not per se arguing, like, the box was always part of Monster Hunter. We're not arguing against the box. Well, the hunting box, not the camp box. The hunting box was always there, right, in every Monster Hunter, but eventually
they get a few like first aids or something. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, that's the one I mean. But obviously, the higher you got in rank, the less benefits that chest would give you, and also like obviously your spawning behavior would change. Whereas in low rank, you can't randomly spawn in the map. You always get materials in the chest, and you always have a map, right? And then with high rank, you still get the map, but I think you already stopped getting potions, I think high rank, you normally already stop it, right? And then G rank or master rank, you would have a very high chance of spawning randomly on the map. You would have no map to look at.
No map in the box.
And there was also nothing spawning in the box, so it was all just
empty.
Yeah. So that was all. That was all. Like, I don't know. That was all. It made perfect sense in a sense of like, you are now an experienced hunter, so we trust you to bring your shit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they take that away. Already they say like, no, we're just giving you constantly all these things. You can always get everything and stuff, and that we brought
an upside and a downside in the older games to which how many items you would bring as well, because if you brought too many, then you would have to scroll through the whole list to find the item you wanted. But if you had like your set like 4 or 5 things that like your potions, or like you could get to them really quickly as well, because you didn't have that like quick select wheel. Like, I don't hate the quick select wheel, but it was just, there was just more interesting like thought behind like what you bring on a hunt.
There was design, right?
Completely gone. That's just completely gone.
There was intended design behind it, and that's what makes it like very interesting, right? In the sense of like
the only thing you think about now is what do I want to put on my farm right now, and remembering to take it out. Like, that's the inventory management in this game. Like,
more or
next
less
to nothing. like maybe if you're a new player, like
Yeah.
learning what all these items do,
Mm.
and like learning that items actually affect monsters and things, maybe that's like good enough for you. But for people coming back to the game, that is just, or like, you know, people who've played the previous
Yeah.
ones, it's just it's getting gameplay just stripped from the game in order to make it easier, basically. Or,
Yeah, like again, right? Like it's not like these things were, well, outside of like the camp chest, all these things already existed in almost every Monster Hunter there was. I'm not entirely sure if every Monster Hunter had like that, but like most had it like that. And or like had, you know, when you're low rank, you get newbie support. If you're in high rank, you don't really get that support anymore, but you still get basic tools. And when you're in master rank, then they expect you to be a master or G rank, whatever. Well,
they expect you to be a G.
if that's how you want to put it. But yeah, like so the overall, you know, we were going through Iceborne, and so a thing that you, for example, before coming back to this, were like what you like to say is you hate how many monsters have beams in
well, that's
in
more of a problem further on in the roster, especially. But like I kind of just want to talk about like the assignment order, because like I'm not like entirely negative on Iceborne. Like I think there's some really fun stuff in there. Like like I think it starts off really strong, because like you start off, you have Beatotus, who's just like it's not amazing. It's Giratotus, but like a bit cooler. Like
makes
no
chainsaw
pun
noises.
Yeah, but then you have Banbro, which I think is just like he's a like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Like that, he's just so cool. Like picking up trees, charging at you. Like it's a melee fight. There's no like stupid ranged attacks that take away from.
And it basically uses the. It basically uses the Duramboros model.
Yeah, it's like a similar skeleton and Duramboros.
Like the big club tail, big humpy. Like obviously, like that also is like, it's kind of what Joe is and Anjanath, kinda.
Yeah, it's just like a tall dinosaur.
Well, T-Rex, yeah.
But then Banbro's armor set is really cool as well. Like it's like I think one of the best in the series. Like for me at least. Like especially when you have like all the snow effects in the game and like the cloth effects, like it really starts to shine. Like with Iceborne stuff. And then you like, so yeah, that's the start of like getting into master rank, and I think like those two things are like, or those two monsters are like exciting fights, and it's just super cool to be in a new area. But then the game gets a bit like, it gets a bit strange, because you're immediately, well, after that you have like the Tobi Kadachi, which I don't feel any which way about.
I think it's okay.
Yeah, I could take him or leave him, really. But then I think after that you're pulled out of the new area and like put back into these like older maps. Like you have, well, it's only for a couple of hunts, but it's for the Paolumu and the Puke. The Paolumu, like that's like the Viper Tobi Kadachi is, it's okay, but like poison is annoying. Poison's always been like a bit annoying. Like the I don't know if I like the status effects or like the way they're used in these fights. Because like the Tobi is just poison, but it kills you way faster, and it's just like, I feel like that there's just they have
Oh,
like two things
he
with
also has
their
bleed.
status effects. Oh yeah, and bleed as well. They have like two things with their effects. Either it
Yeah.
kills you really fast, way faster than any other dot in the series or in the games, or it just drains your stamina to such a massive level that it's like just a massive pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of fights in Iceborne that are just based around really annoying status effects that you're just constantly having to take off. So,
I mean, per se, that's okay. Like, in the sense of like, you know, in all the Monster Hunters, you know, you mostly just hit, you know, the wall hard enough where you then just went, okay, time to farm a set to counter the effects, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Which doesn't happen in World or Iceborne, really, because you can beat those mostly. Like, I mean, you can do it so in the older Monster Hunters too, but I think the wall is a bit higher in older Monster Hunters, I'd say. Especially between like for like key quests or rank up quests. Those are generally like they really want you to you know, to buckle down for these, or a bit, you know, or go like a bit harder on those. And again, not that it doesn't happen in World and Iceborne, but like it's a lot softer. And so like also like a lot of the you know, having to hunt a monster to get these stats and or like these nullifying or countering effects to like the status effects that you're struggling with, or the things that the monster can do that you're struggling
just
with.
like in older games, monsters, like I feel like what a monster would used to have is like their big move towards the end of a fight, or the move you'd be scared of, like a laser or a breath attack, or the thing that would apply the element. I feel like these things were just way more rare in the older games. Like, if you're fighting a Rathian, you're only getting poisoned by, like, the tail flip. Or if you're fighting, like, the Rathalos, you're only getting poisoned by, like, Wing Talon. But there are some monsters, I feel like, in Iceborne, like the Nightshade Paolumu. There is just sleep stuff everywhere, all the time. Like, Viper Toby Kadachi, I feel like he has like just way more moves that either do like bleeding or like toxic, or it's just I just feel like the elemental attacks, or the ones that would actually apply the element, were a bit more I don't know, like selective,
like
whereas now
out.
it's just like every melee attack would be elemental attack. Well, like once you get to like what's that like water dragon called? Namiel.
Namiel,
like,
yeah.
Every attack is an elemental attack. It's just breath attack, lightning attack, breath attack. Like I know it's an elder dragon, so it's a bit different, but like it's just like kind of overboard, I feel like.
I mean, it's a bit that's a bit overblown. It would do like but like its melee attacks are very subtle. Like it mostly just did like a paw swipe, and then it would do another thing. But like but yeah, I still see what you're trying to say.
Like, yeah,
and
like breath and lasers would just be a lot more rare in all the games. I don't know. So
Sure.
I start to get a little bit annoyed with monsters doing a laser attack that's going to attack across the whole map, and then they just waggle their head around everywhere. It's like, what am I supposed to do with this?
It's only, but it's only, well, you know, not to say like I don't disagree or I disagree. I'm just saying like it's mainly 2 monsters which do it, right? Which is well, actually maybe 3. No, like I wouldn't say like, you know, Xenojiva has like its pattern for lasering, but like it's very slow. Like it's very slow, and you can figure out the
But
pattern
that's also
fairly
a final
well.
boss, so I'll give like Xeno
Yeah.
a pass.
But like for example, Val, Hazak, and Namia, well, yeah, Namia to some degree, like they have very like much faster head movements, especially the Val that.
It's just
Look, I have Volcana has it too, yeah.
Yeah.
Although like they clearly have patterns. But the only for me, the only one I never learned is Valhazak's, because Valhazak's is literally like him just going like wiggling his head, literally wiggling his head. Well, the others where I can just see like for Namiel it's like beam left right, beam right left, beam straight.
Yeah.
But with Valhazak it's literally just like wiggling its head, and it's like there is a pattern to it too, but like it's so weird. We're coming to Valhazak.
Valhazak just like blows like the lid off on all the things you don't want in a monster. Like that Black Veil one is a mess.
Yeah, but like okay, so we hit the middle part where it was like going off, and then we had
Nightshade Paolumu is the most aggressive, or like probably bottom 3 monsters in this expansion.
Well, it's also that it's hard coded to go like if it sees, or if the game logic sees that somebody is being hit by its sleep, it instantly goes into its super attack. It doesn't care. It just does it, and it does so much damage compared, like most other things do not hit that hard. And like it's so like it's not like there is no I have a 50-50 chance of it maybe focusing on me. No, it's hard programmed to just go for you. There is nothing that saves you outside of like just having.
I feel like the issue as well is that the sleep comes in the form of clouds.
Yeah.
And sometimes the clouds can get behind you, and you have no idea that they're even there. So you'll dodge in what you think, like, you can only see so much with your camera. And you'll dodge in a direction which you think is safe because, like, you can't see behind you, and you just, like, roll straight into a cloud. Now you're asleep. Then the Paolumu starts going and, like, flipping around in the air, and you're just sitting there, like slowly falling asleep for like a solid like 10 seconds, just being like, I can do nothing, I'm about to die, like I'm just done. Like, and I didn't even know that cloud was there. And like
it's even worse
to go
because
back and like do a full playthrough of like some of the older games, but I feel like these clouds, like what monster in these old games was just so cloudy. Like I hate
like I think Chameleos had more, but like that's just poison. That is not like an insta kill thing.
Yeah, you just get a little bit poisoned. Yeah. Like we'll get to Valhazak, but like the clouds, like just starting off with the cloud problem with this sleeping thing. Like you have this shape that's like a fuzzy, not defined, like you know, like strict like boundary shape. They move around all over the place. There's so many of them, and if you just slightly tap it, boom, like you're done. Like
there's no build up. It's just you go to sleep now.
There's no like how deep are you in the cloud. There's no like slow, you know, like scale here. It's just if you tap the edges of where this cloud is supposed to be, you're just done. Like, it's the worst.
Yeah, after that, we got back on track more with the actual fun stuff.
After that, this is where this is where I start having fun, like in this expansion, because you have the Coral Puke. I have no issues with him. He's just a Puke, but somehow even more goofy. Into Barioth. Barioth starts to show something that like popped its head up in Iceborne, is that these monsters are massive now.
They're good, like 20% bigger than previous games.
Yeah, at least like some of them. Like we saw like this one Tigrex that was just like
Yeah.
horrifying. Like it was so huge.
Yeah.
If you played the older games and you see a Tigrex of that size, it's just
The
like,
only
oh my
the only
God.
Tigrex that had approached that size in older games was the Molten Tigrex, because that was also a huge one. But that was like
which is also
end
terrifying.
of end. Yeah. But that more than just because it's a Tigrex, also because of how fucking ridiculous the damage is and what it can do. But yeah, yes, they're so huge. But yeah, we had the Barioth.
Barioth as well. Like, there's this like size of monster. I feel that sort of like Barioth fits into, which is like this scrappy, like almost like boxing fight. With the size of it, where the size of its paws and stuff in the older game, you could like dodge side to side, and it would like have this really satisfying like rhythm to things. Whereas in this game, like due to the sheer size of him, you have to. I feel like you almost have to like just stay on the outsides, in order so that his massive hitbox doesn't just plow through you. Like you have to like try and tip his toes or like try and like keep your distance from him. Where just because of the sheer size of everything, and I can't. I don't know why they made everything so big, other than the fact you can move while you're healing, and they still want them to be a threat. Like, because in the older games, like when you heal, you have to stand still for a while, and like do a whole animation. Whereas in this game, you can just like keep jogging to the side. So I'm assuming that's why they made everything so huge. Is so that if you're like running to the side, you'll still get clipped by like the side of its arm or something as it charges you.
That's also a really funny thing, because they already fixed that before they even let you move while healing. As in, there's monsters that pre-aim where you're going.
Yeah.
So you have to zigzag some stuff. Like that, they already had that solution, and like they barely do it. I think there's almost nothing that actually checks or like tries to calculate a slightly in front of you. Like taking your walking direction and then like adds like a meter or two and says like, okay, I'm shooting here. But yeah, like that's a weird one. That's a really weird one where I'm like they already had the solution to that problem more or less. Because, like, in the end, like, you knowing how to dodge these things, that means, you understand this monster. You learned it. You know how to, handle these attacks.
I just feel like having them a little bit smaller or having them, like, track you, I feel like led better into, like, these, like, scrappy little fights where you're, like, diving between the legs, or you're, like, like, you could be a little bit more aggressive and risky, because the monster wasn't just so huge that, like, no matter where you are, you're gonna get plowed. Like, I don't know. And it also just takes away from the identity of the monster as well, and the feel of, like, the fight when everything is just massive, like, gargantuan, instead of, like,
still big, like, but, like,
tiger. Yeah.
Sure. What was it? And obviously the other issue is that, readability. Like, if something is so, like, if something becomes bigger than your screen, reading an animation becomes very difficult. Like, obviously they're still, like, they generally still did a mostly good part on, like, uniqueness of animations, but it's getting harder. The point is more, it's getting harder. It's not that it's not doable, but
like, if your camera is up against the side of the arena or something, you can't see a thing. Like, it's just like a leg or something. Which makes getting, like, up against the wall in this game just terrifying, because you can see nothing. So then you get Naga Cougar after that, which is, like, these are still really fun fights, but just also like made weirdly massive from the previous games. But yeah, like, I'm still having a lot of fun at this point in the game, and then, like, Glavenus after that, like just hitting like fun fight after fun fight, like really enjoying it. And then Tigrex and then Brachydios, like that whole section of the game is just like hit after hit of like good hunts.
Yeah.
Like the optional monsters as well in these tiers are like probably some of the best fights like in the master rank. And then it goes a bit wonky.
Is it straight up Myth the Frozen Legiana? I think so, right? Because that's the start of like
you
subspecies.
do the Repel Velcana.
Yeah.
Where you fight like this is where I would say the biggest problem Iceborne has is the pacing at the end of this game. Like it just keeps like dropping the momentum towards like the harder, bigger, like climactic fights. To do something either just like a really annoying fight, a lackluster fight, or just like an investigation or something, or like. And this is the point as well. I feel like something we haven't mentioned is that all of these hunts still have the cutscene requirement. Maybe there's one or two that didn't have it, but the vast majority of this, you're still having to jump in, run up to the monster, trigger the cutscene, and then like both do it, and then the other guy can join. And I remember like a lot of people defending like Iceborne as being less annoying with this kind of thing. And that's like sort of what I was getting at earlier, talking about like people sort of turning a blind eye to some of the Iceborne stuff because we just really wanted Monster Hunter to like be a difficult, challenging, like fun game again. So like we start turning an eye to like how many cutscene like skip things you have to do to like start these hunts, and how that just breaks up the action over and over and over again. Because like I didn't remember, like I just remember everyone saying Iceborne's better, Iceborne's not as annoying, but I was like quite surprised that like every single hunt seem to have like this requirement again, like still to this day, even after the complaints in the base game. Which like it's a fine playthrough if you're playing through solo, but like doing this again for a second playthrough is miserable.
We talked about like how people who only play through the game once might not develop this perspective where it's like how all this stuff is in the way of playing the game, because like the story is not memorable, like, or rather had not, it's so it's functionalistic, but it's also not really exciting in most cases. Like it's literally just, oh, we found a new threat, look at the new threat, whoa, right? And like, you know, the characters are so surface level. Like there's no it's just like the drama, like all the aspects about it are very not superficial, but like surface level. They're all very surface level, so there's not much to really get hooked on or be like, yeah, I really want to see this moment again. It's more just like, yeah, I've seen this, please move on. And then obviously like it being structured in the way it is, where it's like cutscene into 2 minutes of mashing through text to gathering stuff for an hour to even progress, to get new hunts even. Well, you know, in most cases you could do hunts while doing the tracks. But like I don't know. Like, you know, you can argue, like, I think like you can argue that, you know, we were a bit too, railroady in a sense, or like just over focused in the sense of like, you know, we get the track quest and then we're just like, okay, we just do the tracks, right?
Well, you can argue that, but at the same time, like this is a replay. This is not our first playthrough. They just put no thought into the people that want to play a new character. Say you're playing a male character and now you want to play the female for the new armor designs, or you just want to come back and like you know just play the game again. Like I've played through all of the Monster Hunter games more than once.
Yeah, me too.
But this is the most miserable replay. Like, if you just want to unlock the hunts and do the end game and just like have it so the game's open now and you can just play with your friends. Because that's the thing, you talk about it being railroady, but like we're trying to play it multiplayer as well. So like it's so disjointed in the way it's put together if you're trying to play with another person. It's like a nightmare. Like it just feels like they've made a single player game and then like the multiplayer game like just jump through all of these hoops to unlock the part. Like what I think is the core Monster Hunter experience, which is being in the gathering hub with like 3 other people and just like putting a monster up on the board and then just going and killing it. Like and to get to that point in this game is the worst like set of hoops to jump through out of all of them.
I could see that. So we hit that threshold where from repelling Volcana into the first set of subspecies, where I think it was like a mix of like, I don't think most of the higher tier subspecies are any monsters you like hated or anything, but like they were not like I don't fully agree. Like I don't know. At least from how you phrased it when we were talking about it privately, I'm not in full agreement of like that. Like the acidic Glavenus is like, you know, has like too little changes. Like I think he has plenty of like unique attributes to him. Visual.
Okay. Like I don't hate.
I'm not trying to say like you hated him, but like it seemed like to me you
really like the base Glavenus.
Okay.
And I just think this is kind of like that, but less fun. Like it's just the one I wouldn't choose over, you know, fighting the original.
Yeah, and like or Ebony Aldebaran, which you know, he's Aldebaran. I think like.
Which is a good fight. Like,
which is a good fight.
It's one of the few fights in base Monster Hunter world that I would, like, you know, want in different games. Like, really just enjoyable monster.
I agree.
And when you're fighting the Ebony one as well, he's like climbing up trees and doing wacky stuff, like jumping around the Coral Highlands, which is just cool. Or like grabbing a snack and running off with it. Like, that was cool. But we glanced over the shrieking Legiana.
Shrieking Legiana.
Was the first, like, well, no, the Paolum is the first one, and this is the second out of 3 big. Just kicks to the shin, I think.
Like, how should I say it? Like, it's not per se like. It's, you know, it's not a difficulty thing. It's literally just an annoyance thing where it just does so many things that are like annoying. Like it screams a ton. Like it screams so much.
Who likes it when monsters scream? Like, honestly.
But it's not just that, but like, you know, there is a, I should say, screams function as like separator in fights. Like, as in like announcing announcing state changes.
Fun.
But like also like, you know, like, or like just giving like, you know, just giving a break in a sense. But like when and it, like it's not like that isn't a thing in all their games where, you know, like have Kezu, which just keeps screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming. Which thankfully isn't in World.
That's one thing. I'll give massive props to World. Did not bring Kezu back. Gave us a little break from Kezu.
Thank God. But yeah, like it screams. It's constantly flying. Like it is flying even more than Rathalos, I'd say. Like it basically never touches the ground.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah, like that's just that in itself. Like
Mhm.
having a monster based around flying just makes so many of the weapons in this game just really annoying.
Yeah.
Flying monsters. Yeah, like they're just annoying. Like you just want it to land so you can play the game again a lot
Yeah,
of the time.
and that ties
Like-
into how they like on the spot did the emergency fix to flash bugs, right? Where it was like, because people were in base world found out, oh, you can mess up Kushla Daura. Like you can mess up any monster, but like especially Kushla Daura, you can nullify by just having everybody bring flash bugs and then coordinate the flash bug throwing and turning the fighting to almost nothing. And
then go back to the box and get more, because who wants wants to fight Kushla?
Yeah, because Kushla, it's the worst. It's probably the worst version of Kushla ever. And but then Capcom was like, no, you're not allowed to do it more than 3 times now. You're only allowed to do it 3 times now, and after that, it doesn't care anymore.
So what are melee hunters supposed to do?
Yeah, exactly. So like that, that stunts these things, and so like it's like, okay, so
it doesn't even need to do a full stun. Just make it land. Just make it so we can fight some more. It doesn't even need to do like the full knockdown, the full like confusion. Just have it land, and carry on fighting. It's too much, man. And the other thing about this Legiana is that it's just always with the other Legiana, like the base Legiana. And when you start like stacking those ice attacks, and the whole map is just like all over the place.
Obviously, that's like I said earlier, it's the only place where you want to take dung bombs of it. And in that sense, like it's a fine design. It's a fine design to have a monster that calls for the partner, and they're sticking around. But yeah, it, like I said, it's a lot of annoying like elements that come together to make the Frozen Legiana like extremely annoying and frustrating.
It's like not fun. Not particularly awful. It's not like we can't deal with it. We're just not having fun. Like we just don't want to do that again.
Speaking of not having fun, we eventually got to Velkhana, and like it's not that I hate the fight, but it's just kind of like very one note. It's just always about building up its frostiness, and then and it does its frost explosion, and then you start from anew, and like I don't know, like breaking its parts doesn't really feel like it changes anything. There's not really any, like, outside of like at the end where it can do supers more or faster.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
The pacing is just this constant, like, the exact same thing. Like, what you get in the first minute of that fight, you're then going to be doing for however massive that health bar is. Because, like, Iceborne has some of the highest health numbers, like, in the whole series.
Well, especially in the format
like,
we played.
Like, playing 2 people as well. Like, the scaling isn't very nice to like a 2-man team in World.
That starts, and that with that obviously you enter the Elder Dragon tier, and entering the Elder Dragon tier, your first Elder Dragon after Velkhana is our most beloved, the most humble, the most shitty monster, one of the one of the worst monsters ever made. And not like, and I'm trying to like pull that back a little bit in a sense of like, I like the visual design of Valkana. I like the ideas behind Valkana. What am I saying? I like the visual design of Valhazak. Sorry, I like the music of Valhazak. I like the ideas of Valhazak, but the combat design, especially around the Black Veil Valhazak, is atrocious. Like straight up, I've like. You know, you can complain about how bad the hitboxes are on Plesioth and how, you know, especially the oldest version where it's like waiting 30 minutes for it to come out of the water, and that's like just annoying and just bad. But like, it's not, how to say, like, it's still a doable fight. It's just like annoying and badly made, kind of.
Yeah, you just have to learn where these hitboxes are. Like, it just takes like a bit of an adjustment. Yeah. I don't know if there's any level of adjustment that will make Valhazak like you know, like consistent or durable. Like this is a mess.
Like the crazy thing about Black Veil is, you know, normally when you have an Elder Dragon, well, not normally, but like a good amount of Elder Dragons have like auras. Like, you know, Kushala has his wind aura, Teostra has his flame aura, and similar stuff like that, right? And these things are like, for example, Kushala's thing is more frustrating than Teostra's, because Teostra is literally, yeah, I do a little bit of damage when you stand around my face. Like tiny amounts of damage that are not a problem. Like, but Valhazak, like, you know, even like all the effects, right? So, you know, they gave Teostra Blast. But Blast takes a while to go off, except if you just get mashed. And that's mostly just on you. And the other thing is like, or you start burning. But burning is also, again, you can extinguish that. And if you're doing it fast enough, it's gone in like 2 seconds. Yeah. It doesn't do much damage. In Black Veil Valhazak's case, even if you have negation to his elemental effect, which literally would stop you from even burning at all against like Teostra, or, you know, being pushed back by the winds of Kushala completely, they wouldn't do anything to you. In Valhazak's case, it doesn't half your HP anymore, which is ridiculous. But it still ticks for faster and more damage than fire, and it can stack on top of each other, like literally taking like 50% of your HP out in like a second. Like, that's not how that.
And this is the cool new idea for a debuff as well.
Yeah.
And this is coming from the same guys that made, like, maybe not the exact same people, but the same company that came up with the Gore Magala buff.
Yeah.
Or like debuff.
Yeah.
Where you get hit with the purple stuff, it like flows around you, and then if you do enough damage before a certain window, then you get a damage boost. Like, how did the people that came up with that come up with this just fog that goes everywhere and just halves your health, like when you get hit by it?
Yep.
And then on top of that, will just melt you sometimes. Like, just delete.
Does more damage than fire. Like, does more damage than fire, is constantly around. Like, there's no safe areas. That's another thing. Like, Teostra stuff has very clear areas that explode. And again, if you run into them, you just get the blast effect on you, and that means you have to roll a bit. But that's it. There's no damage on you. In Valhazak's case, again, if you're immune to the effect, you take at minimum fire dot tier damage, and if you're unlucky and it like just one of its pustules just farts in your face, you just lose like
because that's
somewhere from 10 to 50% of your health.
It's not just the debuff, it's how you take, like how you get like hit as well. You're getting hit by these little mushroom things sitting on its arse that spray in a 180-degree arc, like a Gore Magala like projectile, but they're all over him. and you don't know which way they're going to shoot, and they have long range, so they can snipe you off of things. The effect isn't that like visually obvious, like that's a bit subjective, but like I don't think it pops as much. It doesn't have like very good tells
because it's like this grayish white on like black.
Yeah, well,
like they
also
like visually
just, like the mushrooms like blowing up and stuff, like the tell is not very intuitive, like when that's gonna happen. And on top of that, like they leave this like just film on the floor that changes the color slightly, and in some areas in that jungle, the floor is already that color.
Yeah.
And you just can't even see it. Like, there's so many times in that fight where I'm just taking massive damage. I don't even notice that my health is just vanishing. Like, and he has, like, his Nova attack is just spraying that stuff everywhere. To where you either have to lure him somewhere else or just stop fighting until it goes away. Because, you can't get through it. Like,
yeah.
It's just a wall of crap everywhere. So, like, you combine all these things with, like, the most overpowered, like, debuff a monster can put on you. And yeah, like, I was not having fun at this point. This is where like all my steam to play Iceborne again is just like vanishing because of this monster. Like just absolutely mind blown that like
and like
they managed to get all of this like BS into one thing.
A fun little detail about it too is that like like I know that the to some moves the posture react in specific ways, but they also react I don't know if it's randomly, but like they have like weird behavior on top of having set behaviors during certain attacks. But like the weird thing that comes to mind is like, so the Basil Geese, right? The first version in Base World has not random patterns, but like it reacts to you punching it and stuff, and drops its scales like in like not really orderly patterns, like if the one that just fall down mostly, and that was a thing that just would like screw you over sometimes you could just have really bad luck with those, and they just explode
previous
you.
Games, like, the only thing I can remember doing that kind of thing was like Shagaru Magala.
Yeah, but even that, right? That has like these puddles that come together, and then eventually they become the pillar explosions.
Like you have a little bit of time to like. Well, you still have time to react to these scale things, but I'm just saying this is like an extremely rare thing. For Monster Hunter before this to have attacks that just land on a random zone in the area, or like like most attacks like all of the attacks in the games would come from the monster. They would be like preset. Like there wouldn't be this like just scatter effect of like shit everywhere. Like that
then that's why I bring up Basil, because its subspecies has patterns. All of it is patterned, and and like you already see like the improvement from Basil Geese to Blazing Basil Geese, and it's even more interesting in Rise. The base Basil Geese has set patterns. So they clearly considered it a mistake or something they wanted to change. But then Black Veil comes in and is like the exact same thing again, but worse. Way worse. And
Black Veil's laser as well is literally just full screen blasting, waving the head all over the place, just like wah 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 wah, like pointing at everything. Like if you get touched by this thing, you're just gonna get bombed. It's just who came up with that? That's mental.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty almost the end of Iceborne. And it's literally just Namiel we already talked about, which was after Valhazak.
And this whole time you're just getting hit by investigations and cutscenes.
The investigate
like slowing the pace of everything down.
Like like when in previous Monster Hunters, it literally like Elder Dragon tier, like it's rough getting into Elder Dragon tier, and then it's a gauntlet of like Elder Dragon, Elder Dragon, Elder Dragon, Elder Dragon, Elder Dragon, Elder Dragon, especially like especially for you and Generation Zero, right? They just non-stop Elder Dragons. There's no interruption. There is just constantly hunting these things. And in Iceborne, even in Iceborne, they thought, oh yeah, you know what's a fun thing? Oh yeah, in between an Elder Dragon, you have to gather new tracks to fight another Elder Dragon. And like it's just like delaying the game for no reason. Like if you want to farm their armor, you're gonna take the time to farm their armor. You don't need the game to be like, yeah, you need to slow down here. And again, because we're replaying this, it's worse. Because it's, we know the game, we know what's coming. You're not gonna surprise us. You just have like these structural slowdowns which are not particularly fun. And yeah, that pretty much puts us at the end. Like it's just it's just Nergi, the Nergi demonstration before
before that.
Well, yeah, but we talked about Namiel before. You talked a bit before about it.
Namiel's like cool, but it's just like I'm a bit exhausted after fighting the Blackveil. Just like like that just leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and then you just go into another like Elder Dragon flailing around. It's just I can't.
yeah.
I need a break, man.
But yeah, then it's just Nergi, which is a preview for, because it's not the normal Nergi, it's the subspecies Nergi. But it's a short fight because it's just there to demo you and saying like, haha, look at me, I'm later into the game when you're Master Rank 99. And then you also have obviously Sharaishvalda, which
is really cool.
Shara is cute. Yeah, Shara is cute. Like, I don't hate it. It's certainly one of the better Elder Dragons. Massive Elder Dragons, sorry.
Like the theming is like really cool.
Yeah.
Like the
theming, the theme,
the
designs,
when you're moving the camera around.
Yeah.
The rock thing, like breaking the rocks off. Like Sharishvalda is like a climactic cool ending.
Yeah.
It's just when you get to that point, it's just you've been through so much like tedium and like like being teased into or like investigations, into annoying fights, into being teased, into cutscene into investigation. Like it just feels like the build up to the climax is the problem. Like the climax is cool, but like as someone who's replaying this game, by the time I get there, I'm just like, oh, thank God, this is done. Like,
and the thing is,
just
right?
Play the game now.
To be fully honest, we stopped there because we didn't talk about it, but like I assume it's also because what's after is the Guiding Lands, which which by many people is called the Grinding Lands. And even though as far as I understood it from the Ice patch notes or like just outliers, they have tuned it down considerably in farming time. But yeah, it would just be more farming for waiting for new monsters.
It's just more like slog, right?
Yeah.
It's just more of the pacing being bad. It's just more slowdown. It's just like it's just more taking away from that feeling of just being in like the gathering hub and like, oh, what do we fight next? Like it's just like, oh, I need to grind this crap for like the next like 2 hours. Before I can get the next one, and it's like against your will as well. Like these games, like I feel like they should be designed so that you want to go and do the optional fights to get the armor. So that like the next fight isn't so scary, or like because the armor's really cool. Like I feel like I want that to be my decision. not just to get my numbers up. Like, that's so lame. Like,
Yeah.
Like, there's been like hunter rank things in the past, but that's the other thing about this game is I think this is the one where they introduce, you have your base hunter rank, and then towards the end of the game, now they're bringing in another, like the master rank, like, and it's like reset all of the progress you've made through the whole game, and it's like now you're at 1. This is the only numbers that count. And then that gets even worse in Rise, where they're like, here's your hunter rank. Okay, now you're in like leveling up your master rank. Okay, now you're leveling up your investigation rank, and like this stuff, like I hate it. Like it's awful.
Yeah.
Because
like,
I just want to do the fights, man.
No, I understand. And like, even though we haven't brought it up before, like or rather, especially me, had that moment of like going, I hope they at least get rid of one full rank for wilds, because it's not necessary. Like, what's like they took out anything that differentiated the ranks outside of like some stats and obviously bigger monster pools, but like you can do that in one rank. You know, it's a bit different, but like you don't need 3 ranks for this, right?
Yeah, you don't need to, like, there could be things because like you also have like the purple tempered monster hunts as well, which essentially works as its own rank in itself. So like for the lower level monsters, like you could have this be like a consistent nice experience, like have like new players learn on the first few hunts like how to play the game, and then progressively like more challenging monsters, but you don't need to like just nerf them to the point where anyone who actually like knows how to play this game or is just like the health pools is like every kill is less than like 3 minutes if you've played the game before, and then you're just cutscene 3 minutes, cutscene, and then when you get to high rank you do it all over again. It's getting a bit tiring with the like one of the ranks should go, like they should combine low and high, I think.
I was about to say like, you know, like I said, like this is the not converse. This is the fuck, what the word just jumped out of my head. Controversial. Our controversial, or at least my controversial take is either get rid of one of the ranks or completely get rid of rank. Like not just ranks, but like don't make a second version. Have one base game.
Yeah.
Like I don't like, you know, Wilds is already taking much longer than any Monster Hunter before. Like there's a bigger gap. There hasn't been as long a gap between a Monster Hunter game as between Sunbreak to Wilds in I think like 15 years, something like that. It's yeah, like literally since Monster Hunter found good success, there hasn't been a single time where the gap has been this big. And my hope is, in that sense, that just make one big chunky game.
Yeah, because as like consumers, this isn't benefiting us anymore.
Yeah,
like this is making Capcom a lot of money.
Yeah.
But for us, like we're kind of getting screwed. Waiting for G rank stuff. Because that's the thing, we're gonna wait this long ass time for this next game to come out, and then it's not gonna have the G rank. And everyone's already at G rank playing level now. Even the world players who we like, you know, like to make fun of, but like they're even like playing their master ranks and doing difficult things. Like they don't need, you know, they're gonna need a challenge coming into this sequel as well. Like I think the amount of people that are brand new going to be coming into Wilds is going to be like quite low. especially compared to base world.
I
like,
think that's
the
hard to
graphics
gauge.
But like the graphics in world brought a lot of new people in that
Mhm.
wouldn't have played like the crusty old graphics.
When you call
like,
them crusty, they weren't. I wouldn't call them
yeah, I mean,
crusty.
I love them, but
They're stylized.
yeah. But like, speaking as like someone who wouldn't have played it, like speaking for the people that came in from world, like they need a bit of like some visuals to get them interested in a game. So like I think there's a massive pull for people to like pick it up on world, but I don't think wilds has that same level of like pull for new people. So I could see just the amount of returning players on wilds is going to be like at an all-time high. And is everyone like coming back going to be alienated the same way we felt kind of alienated playing world? Like, is this game just going to be too easy again? Like, is there going to be no content for like seasoned Monster Hunter players?
Hard to say, but yeah, like I said, the controversial take, my biggest controversial take for wilds is like it to the most extreme. It's literally get rid of a second release, get rid of one rank. So you can still have like a entry level and a advanced level, but that's it, no more. Like, yeah, like I don't know, like there's just like, or just like I said, like we said, like the replay value, or not just replay value, but like the experience of going from 0 to the end again properly in world is not a fun experience, because it's just constant interruptions and stuff. Not, that's obviously not to say that there, sometimes in all the Monster Hunters you had moments where you had to speak to NPCs for a bit and like, walk from one end of the village to the other and just talk. Not that they were like a lot or like super heavy or anything, but there were moments. But yeah, like, and also like, like I guess to a part it could already be offset by having a more engaging story. But honestly, I think they probably have the Monster Hunter has a lower chance of having an actually engaging story than them just cutting out a tier of difficulty too. I don't know, like, yeah. like I don't know, like, to me it seems like the way they create their story is not like, they don't have like, let's say, like a squad of writers. It seems like they have like the game director and like some, like 1 or 2 writers, and they just come up with like, the writers that they have, they come up more with just like cool ideas for the monsters, or like, or like not even coming up with the ideas, but like
the most interesting thing in base world is like people talking about the Sapphire Star and then the final boss having a star on it. Like, it's just like, oh wow, like that's the most interesting writing they had in the whole game.
Like, it's not even about interesting, it's just about engaging, right? Like, there's like the rivalry you have in 3U, in the solo section of 3U and in the solo section of 4U. You have your clear antagonists with Lagiacrus in 3 and with Gormagala in 4. And they're, those function, right? They're functional. They're very, very functional stories, but they work well because they set up these guys fairly early. Like, I think Gore and Laggy both appear, like in Hunter rank 2 at the end? Like they appear way before that you can fight them normally. Like it already like sets you up very early of like who's gonna be your, who's gonna be your main challenge. Or your main antagonist for a while at least. Not, Nergi is around, Sora is around. But like Sora, Sora is already very different because he's a huge elder dragon, and so you have already a weird relationship with him, but also like it's not a normal hunt. Laggy and Gore are both normal hunts. They're just representatives for this is the end tier, right? Or this is as close-ish to the end tier, and then obviously Elder Dragons. Which obviously with Gore went even further because Gore then eventually turns into Shaggy, and Shaggy is the end in that sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, like there was like a enjoyable, like just again, like it's not like it's intellectually stimulating or like a fantastic prose or anything. It's just like it just gives you a clear goal, and the challenge of getting to that goal is exciting. And they at certain intervals remind you of these goals, whereas in World it's like weird, like it's not even that they don't do these things, but like there is something about the structures and how they incorporate characters and stuff that just makes it, I say, like less fun, at least to me. I don't know, like, yeah, I don't know, it's just weird. But yeah, I think that wraps up most of the stuff we have to say about the Iceborne experience, Ice and Iceborne experience. I mean, what's like a last thought you have for your Iceborne experience?
I think that it still just remains the Monster Hunter that I want to play the least out of everything that I have played, well, except for like the first game.
And it wasn't the second one also fairly rough? Or do you have not? Oh, you haven't touched that one, right?
No, I haven't played the second one.
Yeah.
Like after I tried playing the first one, I got scared off of the original OGs.
Everything before Freedom Unite.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, like it's like just we talked about, it just doesn't feel very welcoming to people who are like Monster Hunter players, and it still doesn't to this day. I feel like a lot of people had their experience of like playing through World, and then they just sort of they had their playthrough. It was probably really fun. Like they had their storyline or everything. Like that's fine for them. And then, and then they just like grinded the end game on the same character for a long time. And if that's your experience, it's probably a really good time. But if you're coming from like older games, and you're just waiting to get to the challenging content or like the fun fights, like they're so few and far between, and the really fun like challenging section of this game you either have to grind a long time for, or it's just like a couple of master ranks, and then you have to go through all of the low rank crap, all of the high rank crap, all of like all of the master rank hunts that aren't that good, just to get those few like really fun like section of the game. And it's just like I just don't think it's worth it when you can play Rise. Like and Sunbreak is just every single monster is a hit. Like
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's anything in Sunbreak that I would, really complain about, except like Kezu, but
That space Rise.
yeah, but that's like returning. But like even the base Rise roster, aside from like having Kushala and Teostra again, the base Rise roster is good as well. Like, I don't have many issues with that either, and you can just play through the whole game seamlessly without these cutscene interruptions. You can see each other throughout the whole village. You can like just straight from like almost the start of the game, just get in the gathering hub, like start playing the game, and it's just fun. I just like, that's what I'm looking for from a Monster Hunter game. But like, if you've never, like, if World was your first experience, I guess you just have a way higher tolerance for the changes they made. I don't know.
Yeah, I could say that. But yeah, my take on it is more like, I don't know. I was always like, I think even you, like, we're both not really saying like we hate this game, but like, there's just parts that are frustrating and not enjoying. Like, yeah, you just don't enjoy them as much because you're just like, all this stuff is just getting in the way, and it's, like, you can clearly, like, there's clearly a lot of qualities that are nice and good and you enjoy, but there's also, there's like just, a counterweight of like things that you're like, ugh. And yeah, I think that's more or less it, kinda. I think, like, as we've said before, we have no clue how much and how big the changes will be in Wilds, because the changes could be massive to the formula. It's, you can speculate, like, there's nothing wrong with speculating. There's so many things you can speculate about Wilds, and for some people that's very exciting. I think, parts of it I found exciting too, but I'm also like, I'm not, how should I say, like, even though I like Monster Hunter a lot, one of my, it is one of my favorite game series ever. I'm not like super I'm not obsessed about it, right? I'm just like, when I see new things about it, then I'm looking at it, and then I'm like, okay, cool, Monster Hunter, yeah. Not really much more to say, like, like I said, it's not a bad game or anything. I guess,
Well,
with our
playing
it. Like I said, like, in my mind, right, I just was more thinking of like starting a new Rise playthrough.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. So I want to play Rise or Generations or something at this point. That's where I'm at. That's my opinion of Iceborne.
Yeah, like, because, like, we have our fun little bait title of, is it actually good? And it's very easy to answer it. Yes, it is good. It just has qualities that make, for people who have experience with the series, I think, and especially also in contrast to like Rise, it does things. There are certainly things it does way better than Rise, or Sunbreak, but like, just the package is not as enjoyable, I would say. Not nearly as enjoyable as Sunbreak. That's really it. Like, again, definitely not a bad game, tons of good qualities, but just a bunch of frustrations which don't exist in other Monster Hunter games to that degree. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's gonna be the podcast stream, whatever. But yeah, so yeah, I hope you have a lovely day or night, whichever is the case, and we are out with
Bye.
that. Bye bye.